All right, so our goal in this tutorial is to turn a flat topographical map of a landscape into a three-dimensional representation using our lasers. To do that, we need a source of data with that topographical information. This website, contours.axismaps.com, does provide that for free, which is really wonderful. And you can access anywhere in the world. So for example, here, we could search for Anoka, Minnesota. Let's go take a look at what that looks like. And it looks like nothing because Anoka is boring, right? Like topographically, there's not a lot going on here. But let's zoom out, right? So every time we zoom out, it's got to reassess. Right? I'm going to zoom out one more time. And then what I'd like to do is I want to change. So I'm going to open this up and I'm going to change it from contour lines to illuminated contour polygons. And that just makes it a little easier for us to visualize. I'm going to zoom out one more time. And let's see if we can start to recognize some features that are showing up in Minnesota here. Oh, all right. So there's the Minnesota River Valley right down there. I'm going to zoom out one more time. Okay, my hope is that we'll be able to see Lake Superior. Yep, there's Lake Superior right up there. There's the Apostle Islands. Here's the driftless region of southwestern Wisconsin. You can see the paths that the glaciers last took. Lake Agassiz, Glacial Lake Agassiz is way up there. All right, but again, this is not very interesting. Let's go somewhere cool. Let's go to Mount Rainier. Right, Mount Rainier is in the Western Cascades of Washington, right outside of Seattle, 14,000 feet. There it is, right? So there's Mount Rainier. Now you could go in, you go to Mount Everest. I mean, there's like, you can go anywhere, but we're going to use Mount Rainier as an example. I'm going to zoom in because we don't want too big of a data set. And I'm going to go one more and see how that looks. Okay, I like that. I like that. Now I'm going to open up the settings here and I'm going to make some changes. So I'm going to change the interval from 500 feet to 1,000 feet. Oh, I stopped typing, so now it's going to do 100. That might take a second. It's a lot of data for it to process. All right, whoa. I mean, that's cool again. You see that? Okay, so there we go. There's 1,000 feet. I like that. Now, could you guys imagine at the 100 feet, how many layers we'd have to cut? That would be kind of crazy. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to center that in our screen right there. Okay, and then I'm going to switch back to contour lines. And now this is the map that I'm going to take and I want to export it and open it up into Adobe Illustrator. Before I do that though, I'm going to change some things. I'm going to change the color to straight up black because I know I'm going to need that later, so I might as well do it now. And then we can leave these, we'll change the line weights when we are actually in Illustrator. Now I'm ready to export this map. So I'm going to go here to download map data and I'm going to select download SVG and I'm going to call this Mount Rainier. I may have spelled that wrong, I'm not sure. Okay, now I'm ready to go into Illustrator. So I'm going to Adobe Illustrator and I'm going to go find that file. I'm going to open it up. Okay, and now I've got that file there. And what's really cool is I have each of those contour lines set up as an individual vector piece of data piece, right? So like I could actually take out that line. I don't want to do that. I'm going to put that back. So here's our next step. I'm going to zoom out a little bit here, okay? And what we want to do is we want to find the contour line that is the largest one that's continuous. So if I click this one, do you guys see how it disappears off the edge of the map? So that one's too big. So this one, that's going to be my largest piece that I cut out on the laser. And then I'm going to hold shift and I'm going to select all of the others. Okay? and then I'm going to group them. So I'm going to do Control G, I'm going to group. I'm going to select everything. So I'm going to do Control A, and I'm going to hold Shift, and I'm going to deselect that stuff that I just grouped, and I'm going to delete everything else, leaving behind just the top of Mount Rainier. And now I have my mountain. Now the thing is, we want the laser to cut out each of these individually, right? And so we need to separate these into individual pieces. But before I do that, I want to think about what my final design is going to look like. And I want my final design, right, when I build this, okay, I want it to actually be on top of a base. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a rectangle that's just a little bit bigger than the largest piece. There we go. Okay. And then I want to put some labels on here so people know what it is they're looking at. So here I'm going to write Mount Rainier, and let me go to topography, and I want to make that bigger for now. Let's see, change the font, whatever. We'll do that. Okay. And you know what else I want to do? I'm going to put the elevation. I think that's going to be that's interesting. That's fascinating stuff. So here I'll do a Google search for Mount Rainier elevation, and 14,411. All right, so I'm going to go back. I'm going to add that into my data set, 14,411 feet. Okay, and then I'm going to put that on my base, but I'm going to rotate it so it's like when people are looking at it, right, the text is in front of them and the mountain rises up behind. Okay, now I need to separate all of these pieces into individual layers. So what I'm going to do is first, I'm going to make a new document, and I'm going to make sure that that document matches the size of my laser bed, right? So the maximum size of the laser bed is 18 inches wide by 12 inches, right? That's the size of the wood that we can use for this project. So I'm going to make sure it says inches. I'm going to have 18 and 12, say okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab everything. So Control A, select all, Control C, copy, and put that in here. Now what I find out, right, is that this file is actually really big, right? Like really big. Like this one piece, if I look at it, is 14 inches across, right? So like this rectangle is huge. I think I'm gonna scale this down. So I click the little lock, okay, that's gonna shrink everything proportionally. And I'm gonna say the maximum that I want this to be, I'm gonna say 5 inches, okay? So I'm gonna throw 5 in there. Now it scales it all down. Okay? I'm gonna put it up there in the corner, okay? And I'm gonna put this right over here, okay, because that's one piece. And now I need to ungroup these. And now I start dragging these pieces, okay, apart from each other. Okay, now I have them separated out. Now I can actually go ahead and send this to the printer. Well, first I do need to check, right? Whenever we send something to the laser, we need to make sure that the stroke is 0.01 or less. And then we need to make sure that the fill is on none, except for that text. The text does need to be black because we want it to engrave, and the text should have no outline because we don't want it to cut. All right, now I'm ready to send that to the laser. It would be smarter though to arrange these in a more conservative way so I don't waste a lot of wood, right? So try to get them into the smallest place possible, because then I can use like the rest of the wood for a different project. All right, there we go. Now, what's kind of cool is, could I make this thing actually bigger? Or could I, instead of doing 1,000 foot intervals, I mean, look how few pieces that actually is. I think I could have gotten away with 500 foot intervals, or maybe even 250 foot intervals, right? That would have quadrupled the number of pieces, but at only 5 by 5, I think that would have fit on here pretty well. All right. Your turn.